In the next 19 seconds, you could sell your home. Okay, it's not going to sell your home, but you're going to take a big step toward getting it sold. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com and find an agent selected by my team, a professional who shares your values and speaks the truth. Sell your home fast and for the most money. Get moving at realestateagentsitrust.com.
The State University of New York, or SUNY, at Binghamton, is now offering a course called Stop White People 2K16. Stop White People. This is part of a routine training for residential assistants. Again, the name of the course is Stop White People. Now, that sounds pretty troubling, and I have a description of the course. It says the premise of this session is to help others take the next step in understanding diversity, privilege, and the society we function within. Learning about these topics is a good first step, but when encountered with good arguments from the uneducated people, how do you respond? This open discussion will give attendees the tools to do so and hopefully expand upon what they may already know. Now, that description by itself, you go, okay, I get it. It's more of the same leftist blah, blah about race and diversity. I don't agree with it, but harmless, whatever. But how does that fall under a heading, stop white people? Stop them from what? What does that mean? If they just said, hey, let's, educate white people or whatever, you go, okay, but stop them from what? From expanding, from growing, from existing? What does this mean? Joining me now is a Blaze contributor, Susan Knowles. Susan, you are an educated woman. Help me out on that one. Stop white people
Maybe
from
it's
what is
stop
that?
White people from being stupid enough to sign up for the course. Maybe that's what the stop, really means.
Maybe that's it, because I don't understand. It really sounds, again, like this is an adversarial thing as opposed to just let's educate people on maybe some ignorant things we're ignorant about each other.
Yeah, it sounds really racist to me, and so it wouldn't be a course that I was signing up for. The whole white privilege thing, anyway, was started by a white feminist who really started it to be against men, and then it's kind of, if you will, evolved into white privilege.
Oh. Now, what's her back? She started the white privilege idea, right? Is that what you're saying?
She did, but what it started out was, because she's a feminist, it was against saying men have a privilege. And so we should do something about that. And then it evolved into white men, and then it evolved into all white people.
See, it is absolutely genius, though, Susan, because we got to a point, we all recognize, and if you don't, you're an idiot, that there have been some problems with race over the years throughout American history and throughout history. Race, religion, we know these things have existed. But we've gotten to a point in modern society where most people, I think, if you look around, really don't want to cause too many problems for other people based on race. You get some knuckleheads out there, but most people, we've transcended all of those things. I think the race baiters, the segregationists now, needed something out there to point to when we say, wait a minute, we've got a black president and we've got all these things and I don't care and people are married and whatever. No, they needed something else. So they needed this idea of white privilege and institutionalized racism.
Absolutely. It's the only way that they can stay viable. You have to come up with something, some catchphrase, something that would make people want to donate money to your organization. And it's the only way, like Al Sharpton, people like that can stay viable. You have to have a cause.
But what's so genius about this, Susan, is they claim that something exists that there's no way to prove really or disprove. It's almost like climate change. It's one of these things that you can argue about. In the past, you could say, wait a minute, look at this. There were black people who were being denied the right to vote. Blacks were being lynched. There was slavery. Whatever it was, you could point to it and give an actual example. But institutionalized racism and white privilege is so loose, you could claim anything. And then if I say, wait a minute, guys, that's bogus, they're like, well, it's your white privilege. Check it. Check your white privilege.
Yeah, and what better way to have this go on for as long as you want it to go on for? Because like you said, there's no proof one way or the other, and you can just make things up as you go. So you can have a job. If you're, let's say, Black Lives Matter organization, you can have a job for as long as you want because you can just make things up as you go.
It's the old Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. Tell me, sir, have you stopped beating your wife?
Exactly.
Why, yes. Why, no. Why, I'm so confused. Speaking of Black Lives Matter, Susan, you just wrote an op-ed piece. Do Black lives really matter to Black Lives Matter? Genius concept and a genius title. Explain what's going on.
Well, if you have an organization that has in its name that Black Lives Matter, then I want to see what is it that you're doing that will benefit the Black lives that you say that you care about. So I kind of set out to look at that. For example, I'm looking at Louisiana, and it has the second largest proportion of African Americans in the whole United States at 32%. So you would expect to see Black Lives Matter all over the place down in Louisiana. But guess what? They're not there helping out.
Oh, so let's say Black Lives Matter, and it's been a pretty broad net that they've cast with that term. We want to help black folks, blah, blah. It hasn't been very specific, although we know its origins. It hasn't been specific throughout the movement. So if you want to help a lot of black people, that would be a way to help a lot of black people. To help out with the floods, right?
They've gotten so much money. I mean, like $33 million from George Soros. Other liberal organizations have pledged for the next 6 years to give them $100 million. Okay, what are you doing with all of that money to make Black lives better? Why not go down to Louisiana where people have lost everything, all these families down there? And if you just want to concentrate on Black lives, okay, why not hand out vouchers for shoes, for clothing, to help these kids to get back in school? Where are they doing that?
That's a really good point. Now, I saw somebody mention something like this the other day online, touching on the Louisiana thing, for example, and helping out flood victims. And somebody said, well, the flooding isn't just about black folks, it's for all folks. And that was kind of their objection to let the Black Lives Matter folks off the hook on this thing. But like you said, it's still a great percentage of them you'd be helping.
Well, absolutely. And why is it that you only have to help, Black lives? Why can't you help everybody? I mean, I did a search on the internet, and quickly I found an organization. I don't even know anything about them. They're called the Portland Police Bureau Sunshine Division. These people have been helping needy people for the last 93 years. And you don't have to be of a particular race in order to be helped. You just have to be needy.
Well, you know what? And if that is your argument, or their argument that says, well, but the flood is about all people, doesn't that point out the inherent flaws with Black Lives Matter then? I get the history of it. I know where you came from. You're saying that, yes, all lives matter, or that would be what the marketing of it now is, but black lives at this point are under attack, so we need a little extra attention here. I get that. But shouldn't your ultimate goal be all boats rise? Get everybody better?
Well, and let's just say, let's say you want to just focus on one group, and if you want to make everybody better, why don't we take those things within your particular group that you say that you're helping and make them better? For example, in the United States, the African Americans have the highest poverty rate in the United States. So why, Black Lives Matter, aren't you out there eradicating poverty in the Black lives community, where you say, these are the people that really matter? Why aren't you starting? Why don't you do something to help? And the best way to help with poverty is education. That's the best way to do things. So why aren't you starting a college fund? You certainly have enough money. If you don't want to use that money, then bring on some more fundraisers and raise new money. Apparently you don't have problems getting that money in the first place.
Wow, that's a really good point, Susan, because the Black Lives Matter folks, I mean, sometimes officially as an organization and other times just in spirit or with supporters, have been out there as part of the riots, like in Milwaukee and Baton Rouge and other places where what happens? The community ends up getting burned down. So if you're out there helping black lives by burning down those neighborhoods and hurting business, you are pushing them further into poverty. That's not helping.
That's exactly right. They're not helping at all. And they are causing more damage. And I don't see anything in the news about them saying, oh, okay, since we had all these riots and burning down of buildings in Milwaukee, we're going to go out there and help rebuild that community because some of our protesters, for example, were there. I don't see any of that. But they're not doing anything at all that I can see. I mean, I'm really looking around at everywhere I can find. Where are the donations from Black Lives Matter? What are they doing? Can't find a thing.
So really what this is, Black Lives Matter, it comes down to a political organization, agenda-driven for one thing, but has a pretty good marketing name. Right? I mean,
that's it. I mean, it really is it. That's what it boils down to. I mean, again, nothing to help in poverty, nothing to help in education. I don't know if you remember, but back in 2014, President Barack Obama and the then U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, their big thing was, all the African American in school to prison pipeline. Remember that little phrase there?
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, that African Americans are disproportionately targeted because when they're disciplined in school, they're sent out of the classroom. So, okay, if you know that education is important and you know that education helps raise people up out of poverty, why not start a Big Brother mentoring program? Why not come alongside the parents in an after-school program and teach them the importance of keeping their kids in school? Why aren't they doing that?
Susan, and I'm somebody that, I get what you're saying over the years when you've said things like that. Like you said, okay, they are disproportionately targeted because, they're taken out of the classroom and that hurts them. Fine, you're right. I'll give you that. You know what? I haven't done the research, but if you tell me that's happening, I'll even say, fine, let's look at it. Disproportionate sentencing between crack and regular cocaine and these things. Fine, you're right. I'll give you that. But the answer isn't segregate, divide, anger, frustration, march, scream, bitch, yell, burn stuff down. That's not the solution. I think most Americans are willing to hear people out. When it comes to that stuff, what I personally am tired of is being called a racist, and it's assumed that I'm a racist if I simply say, hey, I want all people to do better, and if you've got an issue, yeah, we can talk about it. I'm tired of that.
Well, if you're not allowed to talk about the issues, and that's exactly what they do, they want to shut you down so that you can't talk about the issues. You're never going to resolve any issues if you can't talk about it. And if you have one side who's talking to you or talking at you in that case, and they're yelling and screaming at you and threatening you, you're not going to have a discussion and you're not going to resolve anything.
See, this seems really calculated too, Susan, that they have shut people like me down because I just say I'm not going to be a part of it. I don't have time to defend myself that I'm not a racist. I don't want to hear all of the garbage that goes with stuff. And sometimes when legitimate arguments are then raised, I've been so beaten down by it that I don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear my stuff anymore because they've already been programmed and propagandaed to believe this stuff. So we have a divide. And then there is a void of communication on both sides. And then these calculated, organized groups continue to market to us. They feed us this narrative. When we are more together in our ideas and common ground, things that we want to focus on than not.
Well, and isn't that what progressives do? They really do things like that to shut you down so that you can't have that discussion and so that you never reach a solution to the problem. It's perfect, and it keeps their organization going. It keeps their pockets lined, and it hurts these people. I came from an impoverished background myself, and I've seen what people do, like these organizations that come in, they give you false promises of hope. And what ends up happening is they leave you worse off than when they found you. But all the time going around saying, oh, we're really helping you, we're really benefiting you. But again, showing no examples of how they're benefiting you at all.
It's so funny to me the times that I have been in a situation to talk with people who should be, by all assumption, very different and opposed to what I would say. And time again, it's good people getting along, even if we have some differences. I'll give you another example. I've told the story over and over on the air about how years ago I was at a wedding, and a gay man that my wife knew brought his significant other, his husband, along, and we ended up sitting next to each other, and he ended up agreeing with everything I said, even though he would have been assumed to be pretty liberal and progressive about things, and he even believed it himself. And Susan, this weekend I had the same thing. I had a party at my house. A bunch of different people were there. A gay male couple happened to be there as well, some friends of ours, and they're newer friends, and we know one of them, and then the other, he brought his significant other along. They don't go out a lot. They thanked us for the party and inviting them and said what a wonderful time they had, and their eyes were opened that they could actually attend functions in the non-gay community, because they have been so programmed to believe that everybody is hating on them if they go out to a party, where they could go to a party and, people are like, fine, you're gay, I don't care. Let's just, we can all sit around and whatever. That they were not being judged. They were amazed. They're like, we've been so wrong about, and it was one couple of hour party where we weren't trying to solve the world's problems. We were, cracking wise about stuff.
Well, and you know what? That's what people really are like deep down. The people are good people. They love other people. And it's just that when you get the progressives that tell you, oh, no, you can't love that person. They don't like you, whatever the reason is. Again, they want that divide, because when they can create chaos, it creates a position in this world for them to come in and take advantage of people. One great example, look at Louisiana. All of those people, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, all working together to help each other. That's who we really are.
Very few people are truly able to turn their back on somebody in need. When somebody is in an emergency situation, very few people are like, well, I ain't helping you because you're a ... That just really does not happen. And that shows you there is a foundation that is more powerful than anything in doing what's right.
Absolutely. Just leave people to be the people that they are. Quit trying to mess things up. These organizations really try to mess things up.
You're right. But you know what? Then it's incumbent on us to preach the gospel and say what's right. And we're going to have to, and I hate to say it, we're going to have those conversations with people and reach out to them, to use the cliche, and actually, because that isn't what we're about. We're about, hey, judge me by my character. I shouldn't have to go and do that type of work. But that's what we're going to have to do. All right, Susan, where can people find your article? Is it at The Blaze right now?
At theblaze.com under contributions, yes.
Okay, so go to theblaze.com, click on contributions, and you can read her article. Do Black Lives Matter really matter to Black Lives Matter? Do Black Lives really matter to Black Lives Matter? All right, Susan Knowles, thanks so much for joining us. It's The Morning Blaze.
In the next 19 seconds, you could sell your home. Okay, it's not going to sell your home, but you're going to take a big step toward getting it sold. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com and find an agent selected by my team, a professional who shares your values and speaks the truth. Sell your home fast and for the most money. Get moving at realestateagentsitrust.com.